The leaders of South Africa's political parties who founded the nation's feckless government of national unity went to the media and to their voters over the weekend to wage a war of words based on pragmatism, in the case of the Democratic Alliance, and populism, the African National Congress. Neither party was very convincing to anyone other than their own sycophants. The Democratic Alliance, reeling from a perception that the party is neutered, sought to assure voters that the DA would not fold like a cheap suit, as it has done on the Bella bill, the 3% black tax, and the Expropriation Without Compensation Act in recent history. On Saturday, Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen was in Phoenix, where he tried to give voters assurances that the DA would not go behind their backs and negotiate deals with the African National Congress. He was in Durban ahead of the upcoming by-election in Ward 110 of the eThekwini Metro, Durban. He said, you can vote for a party that has a track record of getting things done. You can vote for a party that is showing you that just in this last week that it is on your side. We are voting against value-added tax and going to take it to court because we know that the VAT is going to hurt our poor people the hardest. And we know that it's going to make food more expensive, life more expensive, and life a lot harder for more South Africans. Nice words, but one wonders who the DA might win over with this argument. The party did poorly in the KZN province in the 2024 elections. Was this message intended for a national audience? He said, we haven't gone around the corner and done deals in the dark with other people and sold you out. Really? Well, that's not the impression, rightly or wrongly, that many voters in Gauteng have about the DA. Meanwhile, never anything to say except on attack, Paul Mashatile was, well, in attack mode this weekend. This we will do as the government with or without the support of the DA. Finance Minister Enoch Gondwana proposed the budget in February. In that budget, Gondwana said the money he would get would be allocated to social development and to an increase in the social grants of elders. Well, duh. Most of the budget not handed off to politically connected caterers and BE firms does go to social grants. So what's your point, Rico? The finance minister also said he would allocate more money to build schools as well as build structures for early childhood development. He said he will use the money to build hospitals and clinics. The money will not be used to pay politicians, but to fix things that will help the people. That's why we support this budget. Yeah, except your track record is abysmal. These are things you should have done the last 30 years. So we all heard the budget speech. Is this speech for low information voters to convince them that the ANC is their friend? Well, that line is wearing thin with much of South Africa's poverty-stricken population, the majority of whom are black. Mashatile then went on to mislead the audience with claims previously debunked in South Africa's media about what the Democratic Alliance wanted or demanded in budget negotiations in order to support an increase in the value-added tax. Mashatile said, they said we can support your budget only if you reverse the Bella Act. Now, what they mean is that this Bella Act, which states that children can attend any schools, they're against it. They said if we amend this act, then they will vote for the budget. Then they came back and asked that we remove the Expropriation Act. Well, let's hold on a second. Hold the phone there. The Bella Act. Children can attend any school. That's not exactly what it does. The Bella Act steals control of schools from local school boards, and it also punishes parents whose children don't attend school, who are truant, by putting them in jail. There's a lot more to this. It also forces children to learn in English, which is the first language of a whopping 6% of South Africa's population. So 94% of children will be disadvantaged in education by attending school speaking a language they don't speak on day one. That's the truth about the Bell Act, but that's not what he wants you to know. Anyway, back to his point about expropriation. Mashatile said, they said, can we agree that you amend the Expropriation Act? Then we'll vote. But we said, no, this act gives our people the right to have land. You already have the right to have land. What are you talking about? In your people. Everyone in South Africa owns land. So what kind of bullshit is this? You see, the land they stole in 1930, we are taking it back. So he's talking about the Democratic Alliance opposition to the budget and tosses in that racist dog whistle. The Democratic Alliance didn't exist 100 years ago and never stole anyone's land. Oh, wait. Okay. It's not about the DA, is it? Is it, Paul? This is a racist dog whistle against white South Africans, isn't it? That's really what this is. They stole the land. First off, it's factually incorrect. Second, it's nothing but racist bullshit. Stole the land 100 years ago? Who stole the land 100 years ago? Nobody's alive that was here 100 years ago. What propaganda spout is this guy drinking from? Has he had too much chibuku? Nearly all the land claims in South Africa that were filed were legitimately settled over 20 years ago. Put that in your pipe, Paul, and tell the truth for once. Now, this racist, populist propaganda from the deputy president is only going to lead to economic chaos and or bloodshed. He needs to stop lying to South Africans. He continued, they don't want to vote for us because they don't want that to happen, so they should not lie and say they love the people of South Africa. How can you love people who are poor and have no land? He told to roars from the crowd. Lies? The African National Congress is stealing from the poor, and that's mostly black folks in South Africa, through a consumption tax that disproportionately targets them, while simultaneously lying that their political opponents are lying. Only in cloud cuckoo land, folks. Only in cloud cuckoo land. He went on to say the Expropriation Act is going nowhere. The Bell Act is going nowhere. We are implementing it, and we want Gondwana to proceed with the budget so we can fix our people's challenges. Fix our people's challenges. Can it be any more blatant that the ANC is not ruling for South Africans, but rather for 8.5 million ANC voters and about 500,000 cadres? Can it be any more obvious? They're not there for South Africa's 63 million, but only for less than 10 million. But back to DA leader John Steenhuisen, this time trying to impress the world that the government of national unity needs the Democratic Alliance. We did receive a letter from business, he said, indeed. And I think we've seen the market's reaction to a government without the Democratic Alliance. Perhaps, John, but Munir Palapala disagrees, and he has the keys to the palace. I can say that business does not dictate what happens in government. It does not dictate what happens in the ANC that I lead. We make our own decisions based on our considerations of everything that will advance the interest of our people, Ramaphosa said. Well, that's not true, or the country wouldn't have gone so far backwards in the past 15 years. In fact, you make your decisions based on the interest of your cadres and your political elites. That's the bottom line. Be honest there. Be honest. Meanwhile, the DA's Federal Council chairperson, Helen Zille, on Thursday filed a DA application for an interdict to stop the South African Revenue Service from implementing the value-added tax hike on May 1st. You see, the mere mention under a quirk of South African law, the mere mention by the finance minister that he's going to increase VAT makes it a fait accompli. It makes it the law. How can such a thing happen? A finance minister can say anything in a briefing. And at the budget briefing, he says we're raising VAT, and that makes it the law, unless the parliament passes a law blocking what he said? Well, apparently that is the law in South Africa. VAT is going up 0.5% on May 1st, and there's nothing you can do about it, South Africa. Nothing you can do about it. Poor black South Africans will find clothing more expensive. They will find their taxis more expensive. Everything is going up. Thank you so much for your care and love of the poor in South Africa, ANC. Not. Now, John Steenhuisen had one more thing to say that's very interesting. He said, a place in the sun for everybody, regardless of their skin color, an economy that's growing, an opportunity for more people in South Africa to be able to build their own homes, to be able to live in safe environments, and to be able to have a government that's working hard for them. You can have all that, and you can have so much more, but you've got to vote for it on Election Day. That's the only responsibility you have. We can do the rest, but we need your help by voting for us on Election Day. Of course, he's talking about Election Day in a by-election in Durban, which isn't going to change anything for South Africans. It's certainly not going to change anything for people in Durban. So nice words, John, but your party has screwed the pooch in your evil alliance with the ANC, which has accomplished nothing but misery for South Africans. What say you, South Africa? Nothing but blather from politicians all weekend long, trying to defend their positions vis-a-vis the budget and convince poor black South Africans that they're in favor of them. While I do believe the DA genuinely cares about poor black South Africans, and the ANC surely doesn't, nothing that was said this weekend will move the yardsticks 1 millimeter in either direction. Only the sycophants will lap it up from both parties. The rest remain unconvinced. What say you, South Africa? What say you, world? Cheers.